You know that scene? It's in every movie. The montage.
Oh, yeah. The training montage.
Right. The main character is just grinding. It's late nights, stale coffee. They're staring at spreadsheets or, hitting the gym at 4 a.m.
And there's always a picture on the vision board.
Always. Maybe it's the corner office or a specific number in the bank account, the award.
Or even the relationship, right? The person who's supposed to make it all make sense.
And the music swells. And they finally get it. They cross the finish line.
And then the movie ends. Freeze frame. High five. Roll credits. Because that's the part of the story we love. The chase and the capture.
Exactly. But life doesn't roll credits. The next morning, you wake up. It's a Tuesday.
The confetti's gone.
Yeah, it's been swept up. You're sitting in that chair you spent 5 years fighting for.
Yeah.
And it's just nothing.
It's not sadness, though. That's the weird part. It's not failure. You won.
You won. But the fire, the thing that got you out of bed for 5 years is just gone.
That moment is so disorienting. It's actually, one of the most common things people bring up in coaching or therapy, but nobody talks about it.
No.
It's this overwhelming sense of flatness.
Flatness is the perfect word. It's beige. And that's when the panic kind of creeps in. You start asking yourself these really dangerous questions.
Wait, I finally got the thing, so why don't I feel motivated anymore?
Shouldn't I be more driven now that I'm successful? It feels like a glitch in your own software.
But what if it isn't a glitch? What if that feeling of emptiness isn't a defect at all, but a signal?
Okay, I like that.
That's what we're digging into today. We're calling it the arrival paradox. We want to unpack why success so often creates this emptiness instead of peace.
And maybe explore the idea that you aren't broken, you've just arrived. Which is, frankly, a terrifying thought for some of us who are, addicted to the striving.
It really is.
But before we get into the wiring of our brains and why they play this trick on us, I just want to welcome everyone to Philosophy and Life.
Yeah, welcome.
We are building a community here for people who want to look under the hood of, the human experience. We're trying to move past the surface level advice.
Exactly. And get into the deeper mechanics of why we do what we do.
So if you're into questioning the narrative and figuring out how to actually navigate this weird thing called life, please take a second to like and subscribe to the channel.
It really does help us find other people who are asking these same big questions. It helps us build this little corner of the internet.
Okay, so let's get back to this Tuesday morning problem. I really feel like we've been sold a bill of goods. This societal script says motivation is this, permanent state you unlock, like a video game level.
It's the happily ever after myth, but for ambition. It's this cultural conditioning that says motivation is a reward for success.
Right. Once I get the promotion, I'll be happy, and that happiness will just fuel me forever.
We see the goal as a battery, and we think, once I grab that battery, I'll be fully charged indefinitely.
But in reality, grabbing the battery seems to shut the whole machine off.
Precisely. And that's why this belief sets people up for such a hard emotional crash. You have to look at the mechanics of what was driving you in the first place.
Okay.
If your engine was fueled by the gap, the distance between where you were and where you wanted to be, what happens when you close that gap?
The fuel is gone.
The fuel is gone. If the motivation was entirely focused on the chase, the moment the chase is over, the energy source just vanishes.
So the external goal was the only thing propping up the internal drive.
Yep. So when that goal is achieved, the internal engine just shuts down. It has nothing left to process.
Okay, but that feels... it feels cruel, like a design flaw. I mean, why are we wired to chase things if catching them just makes us feel dead inside? It feels so personal.
Oh, it feels deeply personal.
You think, I must be ungrateful, I must be broken.
But it's not personal.
Yeah.
It's biological. This is where we have to talk about something called hedonic adaptation.
I've heard this term. It's basically the happiness treadmill, isn't it?
Sort of. A better way to think of it is like a thermostat. Your brain has a baseline for happiness, a set point. Let's say your baseline is 72 degrees.
Okay.
Something amazing happens. You get the dream job. Your temperature spikes to, say, 90 degrees. You feel euphoric. But your brain looks at that 90 and says, whoa, this is unstable. We need to get back to baseline.
Because the brain doesn't care about you being happy. It cares about you being stable.
It cares about you surviving. There was this famous study back in the late 70s that really showed this. They looked at two groups. Lottery winners.
Oh, and I thought you had this one.
And accident victims who'd become paraplegic.
Which just seems like an impossible comparison. One group had their dreams come true, the other had their lives changed forever.
You would think, and obviously right after, the happiness levels were worlds apart, but the researchers went back a year later. And what they found was shocking.
What was it?
The lottery winners were barely any happier than a control group. And the accident victims, while a little lower, had largely returned to their original baseline levels of happiness.
Wait, really? A year later, winning millions of dollars didn't move the needle?
Not significantly, because the lottery winners just adapted. The big house, the nice car, all that freedom, it just became Tuesday.
It became the new normal.
The new normal.
That's wild. But it makes perfect sense from an evolutionary standpoint, doesn't it? If our ancestors found a huge berry bush and just sat there in a state of permanent bliss.
A tiger would have eaten them.
Exactly.
Dissatisfaction is a survival mechanism. If you were constantly satisfied, you wouldn't be paying attention to threats or new opportunities.
So when you get the promotion, your brain gives you that hit of dopamine, the high, but then it immediately starts working to normalize it so you can focus on the next problem.
Yes. So the flatness we feel after success isn't us being ungrateful. It's our brain saying, okay, cool, we have the berry bush, now where's the tiger?
The extraordinary becomes ordinary with terrifying speed.
It has to. We adapt to the things we prayed for.
But this creates a trap, doesn't it? Because if we don't understand that mechanism, we assume the solution is just to get the bigger berry bush.
And that is the achievement trap. When that flatness hits, most high achievers panic. They don't know how to sit in the stillness. They interpret that lack of dopamine as a crisis. So what do?
They double down. It's next goal syndrome.
Right. They think, okay, making $1 million didn't make me feel whole. I probably need to make 5 million. That'll do it.
Or being a manager didn't fix me. I need to be a VP.
It's chasing the dragon. You're trying to replicate the feeling of the chase because the feeling of arrival is just too quiet.
I've definitely felt this. You run a marathon, you cross the line, you get the medal.
Yeah.
And 2 days later, you're depressed. So you sign up for an ultra.
Mm-hmm.
Not because you want to run 50 miles, but because you need something to point at again.
And this creates a cycle of endless chasing. You're on a treadmill, running and running, always deferring your satisfaction to the future. I'll be happy when I get the next thing.
But the next thing will also become normal.
Of course it will. You're chasing a horizon that moves every time you step toward it.
That sounds exhausting.
Yeah.
And honestly, it explains why you see so many wildly successful people who are just miserable or relentlessly restless.
Right. They've conquered the world, but they can't sit in a room alone for 10 minutes.
Because they've confused milestones with meaning.
That's it. A milestone is just a marker on the road. It tells you how far you've traveled. It doesn't tell you why you're traveling.
Okay, so we're fighting our own biology here. The brain wants to normalize everything. Our culture tells us to just keep climbing. How do we break the loop? There was a concept in the research that I found really, really helpful.
This is the pivot point. If you take one thing away from this conversation, let it be this. You didn't lose motivation.
Okay.
You simply completed the motivation required for that specific chapter.
Huh. I want to sit with that for a second. Completed. That sounds so final.
Well, think about a rocket booster on a space shuttle. Its entire purpose, its sole reason for existing, is to generate enough thrust to get the shuttle through the atmosphere.
Right.
Once the shuttle breaks orbit, the booster falls away. It's supposed to.
So in this analogy, the goal, the job, the money, that was the booster.
Yes. And the drive you felt, that was the fuel burning. Now, imagine you're the astronaut. You've just reached orbit. It's quiet. You're floating. It's beautiful.
Okay.
But instead of looking at the stars, you're looking out the window crying because the booster fell off. You're saying, oh no, I've lost my fire. I've lost my push.
I'm just floating here. I'm not going anywhere fast anymore.
Exactly. You're missing the point. You aren't supposed to be burning fuel like that anymore. You are in orbit. The flatness isn't an error. It's a graduation.
That is actually a huge relief because I think we attach our identity to the fire, you know. I am a person who grinds. I am a person who strives.
And so when the striving stops,
we feel like we've lost ourselves.
But you haven't. You've just outgrown the goal. The version of you that wanted that thing, they got it, they're satisfied. The emptiness you feel is actually the space creating itself for the next version of you to emerge.
But we're so afraid of that empty space, we rush to fill it with busy work, with arbitrary goals, just to feel the noise again.
We are.
So if we stop filling the void with panic, what are we supposed to fill it with? Because if motivation doesn't come from having the thing, and if chasing leads to burnout, where does real, lasting motivation come from?
This is where we have to move beyond success and look at sustainability. The research points to 3 pillars of lasting drive. And the key is that none of them are about getting things.
Okay.
They're about being.
All right, lay them on me. What's the first pillar?
The first is growth. And I want to be specific here. I don't mean growth like getting a bigger paycheck. I mean the internal feeling of expanding your capabilities.
Mastering a skill.
Yes, but it's really about the struggle of mastery. Think about video games. If you play a game on God mode where you can't lose, it's fun for about 10 minutes.
And then it's boring.
The motivation comes from the challenge, from finding the edge of your ability and pushing it just a little bit further.
That's why you see billionaires picking up, like jujitsu or learning to fly planes. They've won the money game, so they need a place where they can just suck at something again.
Exactly. They need to feel that friction of growth. Motivation is renewable as long as there's room to improve. If you feel flat at your job, it might be because you've stopped growing in it.
You've mastered the level, and you're just replaying it.
You're just replaying it.
That makes sense. Okay, what's pillar 2?
Contribution.
Now, play devil's advocate. Isn't that just a nice way of saying, be a good person? What if I'm selfish? What if I just want to feel good?
Here's the trick. Contribution is selfish in a biological way. We're social animals. We're wired to feel repurposed when we're useful to the tribe. When your motivation is only tied to your own gain, your salary, your status, it's fragile. It's lonely at the top, right?
Right. If you win the championship alone, who do you high five?
Exactly. But when you're driven by how your work helps others or solves a problem, that's a much deeper well to draw from. It shifts the focus from look what I did to look what we built.
I like that. It takes the pressure off me and puts it on us.
Okay, third pillar.
Autonomy.
The freedom to do what you want.
It's a bit deeper. Autonomy is the feeling that you are the author of your own life. It's one of the great ironies of success that to get there, we often have to sacrifice a huge amount of autonomy.
Oh, absolutely. You follow the rules, please the boss, wear the golden handcuffs.
You work 80 hours a week to become a partner, and then you realize you have less control over your time than the intern.
Yeah.
And that destroys motivation. You can have all the money in the world, but if you feel like a cog in a machine, even a gold-plated one, you will lose your drive. So if we look at these 3, growth, contribution, autonomy, none of them are destinations. You don't arrive at autonomy.
No, they are ways of operating. They're values. And that brings us to the core idea here. Motivation doesn't follow success. Motivation follows alignment.
That's the bumper sticker right there.
Yeah.
But unpack it. What does alignment look like on a Tuesday morning?
It means your daily actions, the boring stuff, the emails, the meetings, are somehow connected to those 3 pillars. If you're feeling empty, it's not because you need a shinier trophy.
It's because your daily life is misaligned.
Yes. You might have the success, like the money, but you don't have the autonomy. Or you have the status, but you aren't growing.
So the flatness is actually a diagnostic tool. It's your check engine light.
Yes. Instead of panicking and buying a new car or a new career, you need to look under the hood. You have to ask yourself, am I learning anything new? Am I helping anyone? Do I feel like I have a choice in what I'm doing?
And if the answer is no,
then no amount of external achievement is going to fix the way you feel. You have to pivot toward alignment. And that might mean changing your job, but often it just means changing how you approach your job.
it's shifting from the firework mindset living for the big explosion to the hearth mindset. A steady burn.
That's a beautiful image. Fireworks are amazing, but they leave you in the dark right after. A hearth sustains you. It keeps the house warm.
This has been a really necessary reframe for me. I think I've spent a lot of my life waiting for the arrival, thinking it was going to be this permanent state of bliss, and then feeling guilty when it wasn't.
We all do. It's the human condition.
Yeah.
But if we can look at the journey, you achieved the goal. That's a win. Your brain normalized it. That's biology. And now you are standing in a quiet room. That isn't the end.
It's the beginning of the real work.
It is. It's an invitation to build something sustainable.
So I want to leave our listeners, and myself really, with the final thought. If you are sitting in that flatness right now, stop fighting it. Stop trying to scare yourself into motivation.
Instead, look at that blank canvas. The emptiness you feel is asking you a question, and it's not, what can I get next?
It's asking, what creates meaning for me now?
Exactly.
And answering that question honestly, without worrying about what looks good on LinkedIn, that's where the second wind comes from.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for diving deep with us today. This is the kind of stuff we love exploring here on Philosophy and Life.
Yeah, the intersection of psychology, meaning, and just navigating the messiness of being human.
If this resonated with you, or if you had an aha moment about your own motivation, please remember to like and subscribe. It really does help us build this community of curious minds.
And we want you to stick around. We've got some really interesting topics coming up on resilience and the psychology of regret. There's always more to learn.
Until next time, take care of yourself. And maybe just sit with that blank canvas for a bit. You might like what you find there.
See you next time.